Blau und weiß sein Leben lang. Hallo meine Leute, willkommen zum das einzige Schalke Podcast auf English. That's right folks, officially the world's only English Schalke podcast. We are the kings of optimism, but that optimism is starting to wane. This is episode 116 of SchalkeMerica, and I'm your host, Richard Kharman. Joining me on the show, as always, is co-host Jack Mangan. Jack, how are you doing these days, man?
I think a change to the Broken Record podcast is a new name potentially might be a good move because it's just another solid
rinse repeat.
Half of defending before an ultimate defensive collapse that leads to a 3 or 4 goal defeat. So looking forward to talking about that once again.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been a rinse repeat cycle, no doubt about it. Just like, I don't know, man. We started with that nice win with under Gross, and we had some optimism, but that optimism is starting to wane, and the season is going on, and we're getting towards the end here, and it's still got a few games to go, like 14 games or so left to go, but there has been no sign of progress here. But before we get into that, obviously the big news for us on deadline day was Ozan Kabak did leave to Liverpool. And so, the deal was a loan with an option to buy, no obligation to buy. But this past weekend, Ozan Kabak let a goodbye message of sorts. Let me just show you. Let's show what he wrote down here. So he came out with his letter, and it says, "As of today, I am no longer part of the wonderful Schalke community of place that I had the privilege to call home for 1.5 years. I would like to thank all my teammates and coaches with whom we have fought together during my time here. I have no doubt that Schalke 04 will soon reach the level of success this club deserves. Lastly, all my best wishes and respects go to Schalke fans, whose never-ending love and support have always been a huge motivating presence for me. Thank you for everything, Ozan Kabak." This sure seems like a goodbye letter, Jack. I guess we all thought for certain this was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen, that Liverpool would probably buy him, but he's basically saying, yeah, I'm not coming back, no matter what, whether buy me or not. Did you take that as a sin?
Yeah. The way it was phrased certainly made it sound fairly final and not like, hey, I'm just dipping for a few months and I'll be back. But yeah, that shouldn't be a surprise. This move to Liverpool, if he doesn't even ultimately end up at Liverpool, which he very well may, but if he doesn't, this move is still probably designed to put him in the shop window and ultimately get him out elsewhere. We've talked in the past about how he, along with Weston McKennie, were probably 2 of our biggest transfer market assets. So regardless of our, Bundesliga status, he'd be likely to get out of there if we end up getting relegated. Almost a certainty at that point. If not, I don't even know if his contract is valid at that point. We'll see. But yeah, bon voyage, I guess. And we hardly knew you. Unfortunately, didn't get to spend too much time with the young man, but I do believe his future is bright, and we wish him the best.
I think Dirk said it best. This is like a worse version of Groundhog Day movie. It just keeps repeating over and over again. It can't not getting better. I think the best case scenario for us with Ozan Kabak is that Liverpool do not buy him. Well, I guess they could buy him. It wouldn't matter actually at this point. Liverpool buys him for the 30 million, or he comes back to Schalke and Schalke sells him for. Well, I guess he's even part of our. Do sell him on our contract? If we sell him on the contract, we could just sell him for more money potentially if he does really well at Liverpool. But all indications is if he does well at Liverpool, they'll buy him. So 30 millions, I guess, is overall. Maybe I heard some different numbers. Either way, it's goodbye Ozan Kabak, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised with that, like you said.
Imagine if he actually capitalizes on his promise, and they have like a Virgil van Dijk and Ozan Kabak center back pairing for
it'd be pretty good
years to come.
It'd be pretty good,
pretty nasty.
And then you got Joel Matip back there as well, who can come deputize.
Don't forget our boy. Don't forget our boy
Mr. 2.0 or number 1. He's original. Thial's at number 2.0, right? That's absolutely. It could be a very strong defense for many years to come if he reaches his potential. So, all the best of luck to him, obviously, but just obviously didn't work out for us, and we need the money.
Low-key, very much miss Matip's ability to drive forward with the ball, break a defensive line and then play a pass. We haven't had nearly enough of that. Kabak does that on occasion, and Ceane every once in a while, but that was a huge strength of Matip that I feel like we've missed in his absence the last few years.
Seems like Kolasinac has missed some of that in the last couple of games as well. So, moving on, though, a little bit of good news, I guess we could say. We did extend Hoppy until 2023, so we get to keep the youngster for a little bit. It means he's going to be almost all but guaranteed to stay with us if we do make the drop. Thoughts on the extension of Matthew Hoppy? No-brainer?
I forgot if I was talking to you, if it was a different chat, but somebody messaged me and they're like, hey, we're not going to lose Hoppy on a free. And I was like, yet.
I think it was me.
we avoided that for at least the next couple of years, but it's always a looming threat with this team. Hey, good for him. He got his opportunity, has done enough to capitalize on it so far, and is able to convert that into, a permanent contract. And certainly a player that, from Schalke's perspective, if they are concerned about going down, you would probably want to lock up, because a lot of the other better players, Harit, other guys are going to probably not be following you to the Zweite Bundesliga. And a player as young as Matthew Hoppe, who'll be like 20 years old at that point, still very much unproven and needing to get minutes and develop his career. I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he stayed with us and tried to help us get promoted back up, if that's what the situation ultimately ends up being.
I mean, ultimately, I think that would be a best case scenario for him, is that, if we were to make the unfortunate drop, playing in this Zweite Bundesliga would be a good opportunity for him to gain some experience and stuff like that. But we'll see. I mean,
shout out Hoppy, by the way. Hope you're feeling better today. I would imagine today you were feeling pretty rough after your Twitter timeline last night. Seemed like you were having a good time during the Super Bowl. So if you're feeling a little rough today, I hope you're doing all right.
Yeah, I remember there's some movies with the same title of what you're referring to. But yeah, no, it seemed like he had a good time. I remember one of the tweets he mentioned was, "What's a better combination, Brady to Gronkowski or Harita Hoppe?" I mean, so he was blowing up. I guess enjoying the Super Bowl. I guess him better than me. I guess I wasn't watching it. So anyway, let's go for the rinse repeat. I guess, right? We had 2 games over this past week or whatever. And first was the DFB Pokal match against Wolfsburg. Many of us thought maybe there's our chance that we can win the Pokal, and if we struggle in Bundesliga, there's that. Well, that came to a quick end, 1-0 loss, goal by Weghorst. Obviously, he's always going to score against us. They win 1-0. Of the 2 games, I think, Jack, I think this Wolfsburg match we played the better of the 2. Wasn't neither one is right home about, but I think this is a little bit better we did in that game, I think.
And this is what's really interesting to me is even the first one, which I think was only a 2-0 loss, if I'm not mistaken, where we had a pretty good second half as well. For some reason, Wolfsburg, despite being, I think, third, are they third in the table now? Are they that high?
They're up there. I don't know where they are exactly
right now. They've been a team that we, for some reason, looked better against than a lot of other people. Not saying we look good against them, because that's kind of rare in general, but we, for some reason, matched up well. And so it was at least nice to see that we were able to hang in against a team like that for 90 minutes. And clearly the effort was on display from the players on the Schalke side, which is, all you can really ask for. And you saw how upsetting it was to them when they had expended all that energy and ultimately lost. After the game, you could see Harit, among other people, looking pretty dejected about it. So, tough. I mean, the penalty itself, dude, if we can just jump right to that, if you don't mind. So it was one of those plays live. For those of you who aren't aware what happens, there's a headed clearance that's center of the box. It gets knocked out to the edge of the box, and William, I believe, is facing goal, and he is trying to clear the ball kind of backwards. And so he's I forget which Wolfsburg player it actually is that comes from behind him. Was it Schlager? No.
I don't remember.
Anyway, there's a Wolfsburg player who's challenging for the ball as well, who William is literally incapable of seeing because it's coming from directly behind him. And technically, the Wolfsburg player kind of knocks into him and makes contact with the ball first. And they decide that, I guess, William's leg, when he's trying to clear it, is a penalty worthy. When I saw it live, I was like, oh my, they actually might look at that, because it's the exact kind of play where you could see something was going to happen to us. And it's a super rough call. I mean, I understand why it's a penalty, but one of the harshest ones I've seen on us in quite a while, because it's not intentional from William. He doesn't know anything about it. It's basically a 50-50. If that happens in the middle of the field, I'm not even convinced there was a whistle at all. They might just let that play on, but because it's the edge of the box, VR goes and takes a look at it, and then the penalty itself is saved. It's a bad penalty, and then they score on the rebound. So to lose a DFB Pokal match 1-0 on that penalty call, on that penalty take, is just the most Schalke thing of all time. Super brutal, and I feel bad for the guys, because they really put in, I think, a decent performance in that one relative to other things we've seen.
Yeah, it certainly was a decent performance by the guys, and it kind of gave you some hope. And I know Gross was trying to pull on some positives from that match, and a lot of fans were trying to pull off that match because we had that big game against RB Leipzig coming up on the weekend, and we knew it was always going to be difficult. Leipzig are top 2 in the table, as you mentioned. Wolfsburg are third, and we have been playing them very well this season, surprisingly.
One quick lineup talking point from the Wolfsburg game that I wanted your opinion on actually was we saw that we started off in that game with the Timo Becker-Williams stack on the right-hand side. Which was something that I think had happened via substitution the previous game.
Correct.
We actually started that off. And listen, when you have a team who is so thin at that position at right back, like all season long, and then they go out into the transfer market and purchase somebody who's ostensibly a right back, I think it's a fairly logical conclusion to assume that that guy would be playing at right back. And then instead we see him play at right mid. But I feel like it actually worked out fairly well. Timo Becker, every game recently, I feel like is slightly improving and getting more comfortable and getting more involved in. And William at least has a decent dribble and a little bit of creativity, and maybe him further up the pitch isn't actually that bad of an idea.
Yeah, it's very similar to, in a way, kind of like Caligiuri, right? Where we kind of got him for as a right back, and then we started playing him as a winger, and he played very well there. And then, eventually we put him back at right back, and it didn't work out. But I did like the double stack there. We did, though, in the game against Leipzig, did see William go back into the right back position. That was interesting. We also saw the debut of Mustafi at center back paired with Nastasic. Obviously, Kolasinac, the captain, would be at left back. The two holding midfielders would again be Mascarell and Stambouli. Schopf would this time be at the right wing position as opposed to William. And then Ut and Harit, obviously with Hoppe up top. A pretty standard lineup. I mean, obviously there's not going to be no Huntelaar, no Roman due to injury. And I think we're missing one other person possibly. But Serdar, yeah. So that's why he didn't start. So thoughts on that initial lineup against Leipzig? Because I wasn't too impressed with the Leipzig lineup. With me, that might be true, but.
So, I mean, the first thing is Mark Ut right now is in horrible form.
Yeah.
Has been for several weeks. Really hasn't been the same since the head injury. But, especially the last couple games, I feel like it's just been absolutely brutal. So that's concerning off the bat. You would prefer to see somebody else there. Also, Schopf, which we've talked about, just you never know whether or not he's going to be serviceable or just going to be an absolute waste of a body out there. I think, unfortunately, in this game, it was much more the latter. I don't know if that's just because Leipzig and the pressure they put you under is difficult to cope with, but I mean, Schopf didn't really accomplish a whole lot. And then once again, just the Mascarell, Stambouli, both of them in the center, it's just not who I'd ideally like to have there. I mean, I thought Stambouli was not a factor in this game almost at all. Mascarell a little bit more so, but had some sketchy moments in terms of tackles and stuff and just seemed a little bit off the pace, like especially against a fast team like Leipzig. That's having both those guys out there, they just can't cover enough ground in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. And I think majority of the game, certainly the first half, was very even, and even in the sense that it was consistent, in the consistent sense that it was lopsided. It was all on our end and all Leipzig. We had 0 shots in the first half, I believe. It was just complete domination. I mean, we were compact, I guess. If you want to take some positives from this, we were compact defensively, so we were bending but not breaking necessarily. Fairman really didn't have anything to worry about. I think like one difficult shot in the first half. They did get the sucker punch late in the I guess it's a sucker punch, but not really, because set pieces is what we always give up goals, right? And Mukiele gets a nice free header. I think it was Mustafi on that play, but just another set piece goal that we give up, and that is our Achilles heel this year. As bad as we've done with many different categories, set pieces is the worst by far. Every game we're talking about set piece goals.
Yeah, we are. But as you said about the first half, it's like, well, kind of compact and didn't give away too many clear-cut chances, so you could sort of be pleased with that. But 0 offensive threat whatsoever. Struggled to even get it past midfield most of the time in transition. They were shutting everything down.
Mark had like one shot that looped over or something like that. Didn't even come close.
Yeah, Mark Ut is an absolute black hole in possession. He's where every offensive move goes to die at the moment. He had 2 different things within the first 10 minutes where I think he killed the transition with a bad decision or misplaced pass, whatever. Tough, yeah, and just 0 shots. So I mean, you could say, hey, decent organization. Didn't give a lot of clear-cut chances, but doing absolutely nothing, and it's one-way traffic. And then when they concede the corner in stoppage time, you're just like, here it comes. Like before halftime, here's the psychological dagger. And naturally, wouldn't you know it, it's the new man who is coming into, I think last week we referred to him as due diligence on the part of Jochen Schneider and not a whole lot else, although it seems like it was, Zeo who actually is the one who reached out to him, as was the case with Huntelaar. So maybe he's actually, the one doing the recruiting. So props to him. But he just lost his mark, which is something we've seen time and time again. I don't want to be too tough on Mustafi because he had a day to train with the
Yeah.
team after
Yeah.
I mean, so like he hasn't played since Boxing Day. He hasn't been training with the team. It's going to be hard for him to just slot in against a team like Leipzig and look good. So hopefully this is a performance that is an outlier for him. But based on what we've seen at Arsenal times, I'm not entirely sure it is. And I think he had questionable moments on all 3 goals, in my opinion. So
I agree. By the way, I love the hat, Jack. Nice hat. Looks good on you. Anyway, so yeah, one thing we didn't mention before this goal happened is, say what you want about Mark. He had been one of our better players up until the head injury, and then obviously that's had a major effect on him. And lots of people have been screaming for him to get off the pitch and blah 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 blah. Some people even hoping he get injured. I don't know why. I don't know why you ever say that against your own player, but he did get injured in the 38th, 39th minute. Pulled a hamstring going for a ball that was in the air. Unfortunate for him. I hope he recovers well. But it did look immediately as soon as he reached his leg up, it was a hamstring injury. He goes off. Buyaleb comes on. And Buyaleb did some good things, I think, for a little bit, as good as anybody else could have done on that pitch, I guess. But that substitution happened just before the goal, and then obviously the goal happened right in 43rd minute, literally the last minute of stoppage time. So they go into halftime, 1-0 lead. Come out, and it's more the same, really. The pressure by Leipzig in the second half was a little bit more ramped up. Fährmann was forced to make a couple more saves than he did.
First 15 minutes of the second half, especially, I felt like,
yeah. I don't remember who it was, if it was Nkunku or who it was from distance. Got a nice shot off that Fährmann had to make a nice save on. A couple headers as well, I remember. Fährmann was forced to to play more, at least in that second half. They would end up getting that second goal through Marcel Sabitzer. A nice, powerful low shot to the low left corner. And then to add insult to injury in the 87th minute, Willy Orban would get a goal off a set piece. Of course, this time I think Nastasic is the one who was to take blame for that. The most of the blame, I should say. Yeah. 3-0. 3-0 loss to Leipzig. I think a loss to Leipzig was always on the cards. We obviously, the optimists in us, we were always hoping maybe something would happen. But, this was a closer loss in terms of they didn't look like it was against Bayern or something where we just got completely outclassed, but outclassed in the sense that we were discombobulated in the back. We were very disciplined somewhat. We're bending, not breaking, but it was all them.
Yeah, it was less intensity for most of the match from Leipzig than we often see with Bayern, the kind of pressure we saw from Bayern in the first game of the season, for instance, right? Where it was like every time they went down the field with the ball, they looked like they were going to score and they were just out for blood. Leipzig was significantly more measured for most of the game in their approach, but even so, it was still just completely one-way traffic. Pretty brutal. That second goal that you mentioned, kind of tough because the run comes from sort of behind him, but Mustafi falls asleep, doesn't track it, which forces William to come in and try to cover it. Opens up
Angelino with the pass, right? And went over to Sabitzer.
It may have been. Sabitzer, nice finish from him. If only he could finish his facial hair as well as he could finish patchy. Anyway, and then the third, Nastasic again, who's struggled all season, and honestly, it's 3v1, and the fact that we can't keep Orban from scoring that is pretty sad. Fantastic header from him, though, it must be said. I mean, that's like a cross goal, top corner.
That was better than Mukiele's. That was better than Mukiele's header, I think.
Yeah, Mustafi marking no one on that entire play. Watch the replay. He's like, here I am. And then he's like, oh, I got to get back. Yeah, I mean, it's just so, tough game. And 2 set piece goals. So same old, 3-0, rinse, wash, repeat.
Dirk says, Mustafi did very well considering he didn't play or train with the team. Just bad. It cost us the first goal. Yeah, I mean, we agree with that. And just tough game to be put on right away against a very good team. And Gross was obviously not impressed with the way Mustafi played. But, I mean, what more can you expect of him considering the lack of pitch time that he's had and why Thiaw didn't start? Or, I mean, Sané is not ready yet. But, it's and, again, no Bozdogan in the game again. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know where we go from here. It's, we are the kings of optimism, but 14 games left. We probably, we probably need 5 or 6 wins straight up. And I don't know where that's going to come from, Jack. I mean, it's a lot of games coming up, but if you look at it from the big picture, you would say, okay, there's a lot of winnable games, right? But is there? I mean, the way we've been playing, I mean, obviously Union Berlin, tough game next week. And then we've got the derby. No, don't want to look forward to that. But then after that, Stuttgart's having a very good year. Mainz had an unexpected win this past weekend. That sucks for us.
As did Cologne over Gladbach, which also
as did Cologne.
Gladbach,
yeah,
what are you doing?
We are just everyone's hurting us at the moment. Wolfsburg after Mainz, Gladbach, Leverkusen, Augsburg, Freiburg, Bielefeld, Hertha, Hoffenheim, Eintracht, and then we end this. If somehow we get these wins, lo and behold, then the magic of the schedule, we get Cologne. That could make or break possibly, but at that point, I don't know, Jack. I don't know where are we gonna get these wins from. It just it doesn't seem like there's any. We need a glimmer of hope, and we're not getting that.
Yeah, and once again, the Hoffenheim game where we won and looked offensively competent was against a severely injury depleted Hoffenheim with very much a makeshift starting 11. So there's not enough data points to suggest this is turning around anytime soon. And once again, I mean, 2 of the last 3 are Bundesliga at least are Bayern and Leipzig. So it's tough to look at these specific ones and take too much out of it. But ultimately, I don't think we've seen enough under Christian Gross, and it's not Christian Gross's fault. It's the same thing we've seen with the last 3 managers before that. So at some point, same thing we've been saying all along. They have to find a way to win the matches that you think are within reason to be won, and they got to take advantage of some of their chance. I mean, you know what? And like there were a couple moments even in the Leipzig game where I'm not saying there were chances in terms of like shots, but like if one person makes like a slightly better decision or if there's a better touch, there's things to be there. Matthew Hoppe had a couple of moments where he kind of messed up in the box. I felt like took a wide touch that where he could have gotten a shot off, that sort of thing. So,
speaking of Hoppe, that the one play where he was offsides, where he got the ball, beautiful first touch past the defender, made another move past the defender. I was like, this is great. Yeah, it's a great play, but it was offside. But like, you like to see that from him. He's all these guys are just a step away from a positive move, and it just seems like every little mistake is compounding with another, and then it just avalanches towards abysmal play, and it's just it's terrible. I mean, I don't know. I got no words really. And you look at the standings where we at with the wins from Mainz and Cologne. Cologne's now up to 14, so they're way out of relegation. They're on 21 points. Mainz are now up to 13 points, so they're 5 points above us. I mean, Armenia's in the last the playoff relegation spot, and they're 17 points, so they're 9 points ahead of us. We have to do better than both those squads and whoever's ahead of them, Augsburg. It's difficult. I mean, I don't know. It's 14 games to go. We need to start winning immediately, and if we don't start winning, we don't get a win against Union, then all hopes has to be out the window, I think. I mean, I don't know.
I wonder if we could address Jake's question in the chat, just because I think it gets partially to a larger point about team selection at the moment. Yeah. So what Jake is asking is when Mark Ut was injured, and I believe that the person that came on was Boujaleb as right into the same position. Yep. If it would have made more sense to sub on Benito Rahman instead and put him at the left wing in that 4-2-3-1, move Harit centrally, and the answer to that question to me is yes, that would have made more sense. Boujaleb, like everybody else, kind of inconsistent, and once again, the last couple times we've seen him hasn't really impacted the match. And I do think that even with Benito Rahman being inconsistent this season, putting somebody like him out wide at least gives you something. I think more than what Boujaleb and Ut are providing centrally right now. So yeah, I agree. And the other point I wanted to make is just that I feel as though at the moment there could be as many as like 6 people that were in the starting lineup in this game that I think should not be starting going forward. Yeah. I mean, I think Timo Becker, Malik Chow both have shouts. Bozdogan, Suat Serdar, maybe even Rahman as well. Ceane if he comes back. And so, it's frustrating because we're pretty bad in general, but we're not even always getting what I think many of us would consider to be an optimized 11 because of injuries and other issues.
I almost want to see the youngsters play just to see if they give you more heart. Like we saw that at the end of last year where we brought all the youngsters in against Leverkusen, and we actually had a pretty good game. That was one of our best games of the Rückrunde last year. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that in the lineup, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see you anymore. Based, if there's injuries or whatever, okay, whatever, we have to put you in there. But it's been difficult too. As soon as Huntelaar's been here, he got injured right away, and Rahman got the injury, and Serdar's got the injury, and it's and Sane's obviously not back yet. So it's been one thing after the other, and it's been difficult. And like I said, we have to get some wins here, or we're going to be looking to fight the Bundesliga straight in the face here. I don't know what point it becomes a confirmation, but Yeah, it's become more and more reality as the weeks go by. 14
Yeah,
games,
I mean,
14 games
what we've been saying for most of the year was doesn't even make sense mathematically to start talking about it. It's getting to that point now because the gap has definitely increased. Mainz and Cologne and other teams are picking up wins occasionally, and nothing's still changing. So, it could be mid-March before we know it, and don't know how many opportunities we're gonna have before then to win a game, and at that point, it's probably over.
And I think, at times we do look like we are a competent team, a Bundesliga team, and then more times than not, we don't. We look very incompetent. We look like a team that doesn't belong in the league. And I remember I saw someone on Twitter, and it wasn't even a Schalke fan per se, but they were like, this team doesn't even look like a team that belongs. It looks like one of those teams that came up for 1 year and they're just there for the fun and then I'm going to go back down again. That's what we look like. And it's like, this is not who we are. This is infuriating. And, it was nice to see some of the ultras out there and Mohammed, the beer guy who has his beer on top of the head. Mm-hmm. They're all there outside trying to cheer on the team. But, yeah, not happening.
Somebody tweeted us and was like, hey, there's a Schalke fan with a beer on his head. Like, isn't that crazy? I'm like, he's a celebrity. We're well aware who that is, yeah.
Yeah. We put him into Schalke Lieben because Schalke Lieben did a nice video again with him, Mohammed. So definitely check them out. If you know who Schalke Lieben, I mean, go follow them. They put up some great content for Schalke. They get some in-depth of stuff with the players as well. So definitely check them out. What Dirk's here commenting. He's saying, worst comes to worst, are you two going to continue to do this fantastic podcast? I'm in, Jack. I don't know about you, but I'm in despite the Bundesliga. I got some different teams to talk about for once, right?
I think the only question would just be we have to work out how we're going to get access to all of the matches. I don't know what's going on with ESPN for the Zweite Bundesliga. I haven't stayed up on.
I think they do have it, but yeah. That'll be the difficult thing for us in the States. We might have to get maybe the club to move us to Germany or something so we get some access to the games. I don't know, but if we can get access to the games, absolutely, right? Maybe we'll have to brush up on our German, just listen to the German feed, German radio there to catch the game.
You'll be fine. That's going to require the work on my end for the most part.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit more than me, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, if we can get access, sure, well, absolutely. Why not, right?
Yeah, we have no intention of stopping talking about this team just because they go down. Not that fair weather, obviously. The only question would just be logistical. Yeah, but
yeah. And for those who want, we're going to give a shout out right now. Follow the Zweite Bundesliga podcast. Definitely give them a follow. Good group of guys there. We've had Matthew Karagich on here before. Obviously, Ava is very, very knowledgeable as well. She's awesome too. So definitely give them a follow. Get your knowledge on Zweite Bundesliga, and then who knows? Maybe we'll be talking with him more sooner than later. So hopefully not, but yeah, you never know.
An increasingly relevant podcast. Yeah,
that's right.
For Schalke supporters far and wide.
Dirk says German is easy. Even the little kids in Germany can speak it.
There you go.
Come on, Jack.
There you go.
You let kids be better than you? Come on.
Plenty of them are.
Same here in this country. They're all better than me. So my son's better than me. I know that for sure. So anyway, we're going way off topic here, but for good reason because there's not much to talk good on the pitch here. So yeah, next game is Union Berlin. Difficult game. We know it. I think this is. I mean, if it's not a must-win already, it's got to be a must-win. We have to get something, and getting draws here and there. I mean, a draw against Dortmund would be fantastic, I think, but we need to get some wins here. We need 5 to 6 wins, honestly, in the next 14 games. Virginia Knappen are here. Hey, what's up, Brian? He says, I've been watching some Nuremberg matches on ESPN Internet. So, yeah, there have been some games on ESPN, so hopefully we continue to see that. I've seen more, actually, Zweite Bundesliga games than Eredivisie games, so there's that. So hopefully that continues going forward.
Are there going to be any fans in the stadium for Union? Because that is an away game for us, correct?
It is, and I don't know if there are going to be any fans because I know many of the cities have been tightening up on who they allow or what they allow into the stadiums. So I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure we'll hear something here in the next coming days. Majority, I know, obviously we're the ones not letting anybody in, but there's several cities that are starting to let people back in or have had small numbers like 2,000-3,000 in there. So that's a good question. Not sure. We'll see. If you guys have any questions, let us know in the chat. I mean, again, we don't want to keep repeating what we've been saying every week because it's the same thing over and over again. Looks like the club are going to get relegated, though. Yeah, that's true. Nuremberg's not doing too well. It seems like everyone's doing well. Anyone who's affiliated with us, it seems to be doing poorly at the moment.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate Schalke Nuremberg handshake, right? If we both went down the same season.
There you go. So there's that. Jack, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean that's I don't have much else to talk about. Like we said, same old, same old. Good effort against Wolfsburg, and hopefully, third time's the charm against them because we got them coming up fairly soon as well in the league. In several weeks probably. And it just when it comes to the Leipzig and the Bayern ones, given how bad we are, we don't have a chance in those games. I hope they can just brush that off psychologically.
It's everybody else who need to play better.
Yeah, and try to capitalize against some. I mean, we're worse than everybody. So, I mean, there's no such thing as an easy game. Union Berlin is not an easy opponent for us. They're a better team than us right now. So, but hopefully that's one that maybe we can make something happen
in. Virginia Knappen asked, so Hoppy's a Brady fan, huh? Apparently. Libations, maybe?
A big fan of Super Bowl in general, or just sports, all kind. Big fan of tweeting, big fan of lots of things.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I'm going to leave it on is that on Christian Gross, right? We obviously with the win when he first came in, first couple of games, whatever. It's great stuff. We had a lot of positivity there, but since then, and I think they alluded to this on the telecast a little bit, we haven't seen much of an improvement. Like there was some good things. We have been better defensively, I think, more discipline at times. Certainly better than under the Wagner era and maybe occasionally under the Baum era, but it hasn't really been a big improvement. We've been losing. We lost 3 of the last 4 games or 4 of the last 5 games. It's not the trend you want to be doing. If we were drawing all those games, it'd be different, but we've been losing these games and losing games fairly handily in terms of scoreline. We need to see something. I mean, we know why he was brought in, and at times it just looks like he's just lost. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts when you watch him on the sidelines there.
It's always easier to criticize people that appear to be slightly quieter and more reserved on the sideline as not actually having a plan or affecting things. Manuel Baum was very active. Yeah. And so it was easier to point to that kind of thing. Yeah. Gross is just one of those guys you never know what he's thinking because of his face.
Yeah.
Like, if we score a goal, he'll just be like,
yeah.
And then if we, concede, he'll just, same kind of thing. He's
my wife says I have that kind of face.
I think his team selection has been a little bit questionable as well because there's several players and injuries are part of it, but I haven't always liked who he's putting forward, and I can't help but wonder how much of that is entirely him. I don't want to get too cynical, but I mean some of the players that haven't been selected by him seem to be players that haven't been selected by. Or Gattuso was loaned out, Bosman's been kind of freezed out. I don't know. It makes me wonder if there's pressure from the hierarchy on some of these guys. But maybe it's just every coach is coming to the same conclusion about what they're doing in training or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
Something's got to happen. It's the players. It's not the coaches. Because I mean, to say hey, Christian Gross is the one that has to find a way. He's not. David Wagner didn't. Manuel Baum didn't. It's the players. They have to find a way to do it, and at the moment, it doesn't look like they are. So hopefully, I'm proven wrong.
It's the same team that was fighting for a Champions League spot under Wagner. All of a sudden, is worst team in the league. It's the players.
I did have one other thing, not to drag this podcast out even longer, but there was one thing. Schalke Daily tweeted out 5 days ago or so that, this is just one report. I don't know if this was confirmed, but. That Bentaleb's people had a conversation with Schneider about possible reintegration into the squad. Did you see that?
I did not. No, I did not.
So I don't know if there's been any follow-up on that or how legit that particular piece of news or rumor was. But if that's the case,
the
whole conversation we had earlier in the year about how the meaninglessness of these suspensions and everything, wouldn't that just be, the cherry on top of the entire failure Sunday if we reintegrated him and just prove that we have no idea what we're doing overall, with the number of times that he and Harit have been funneled in and out of the side, and we're definitely going to sell him in January. Just kidding, didn't happen. And he's not playing for us, and maybe he's getting reintegrated. It's just the merry-go-round, man. The merry-go-round. It's
a merry-go-round. But let's end the show on a positive note. Burgstaller, he scored for St. Pauli, so there's a positive note for you. Good on him on finally scored some goals there.
I hope he's staying warm in his Christmas sweater.
There you go. I got that sweater around here somewhere. I got to find it. Not that it's
you
cold
have
here.
To wear that for the next podcast.
I will. How about that? I'll do that for sure.
Good.
But until the next podcast comes, my friends, let's wrap this one up. Thank you to all the listeners and people in the chat today. We want to thank Schalke for all the tidbits on our podcast today. Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JM Mangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter.
All right, on. And as always, first off, if you haven't followed our YouTube page, make sure you follow, subscribe, leave comments. That'll definitely be appreciated. You can obviously follow anywhere on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere like that. So definitely give those a follow if you haven't done so yet. And you can follow me at r_KHARMAN. Until the next podcast comes, my friends, stay ready, and we'll be with you soon. Tschüss.